entire software development lifecycle looks quite different. What does it look like in 6 months?
There's a lot of issues with operating systems, especially as you're scaling, and the CI/CD flow is broken. I think we've all been there as engineers, like alert fatigue and all the noise and whatever, and the late nights of on-call. And so, starting Architect and being AI first, I thought it made a lot of sense to try out something that was maybe a little bit more AI forward. I think we need tools across CI, actual deployment, the ability for the agents to validate the changes themselves, and then things like Firetiger to monitor all the telemetry.
Interesting. Well, I hope there's no rocks or anything here.
Yeah.
And then
it's very green, I will say.
Oh, it smells pretty. It's pretty.
Oof. See, this guy clearly knows more about anchovies than I do.
I cracked open that tin fish can. Lord, what did I find inside?
Good to see you, dude.
Great to see you.
What's your name?
I'm Luke. I'm the Chief Product and Technology Officer of Architect.
Cool. And I'm Rustam. I'm CEO and co-founder of Firetiger. You're in town from London. Mm-hmm. How have you found SF so far?
Much better weather. Been loving the sun. It was sunbathing a little bit yesterday. It's a big improvement.
60, 70 degrees outside. I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is either.
How does it compare to London so far? But beyond the weather, like vibes, startups.
Vibes. I mean, it's electric. Like everywhere you go, people are building great things, and the traffic's just as bad. So it feels just like home.
Interesting. With less tech regulation, though, right? Like
fewer regulation, yeah.
In all seriousness, like how do you think about sort of U.S. tech regulation versus EU tech regulation? I mean, it's obviously like a meme. There's a fucking compliant VC on Twitter, but like, how does that actually impact how you go about building software in a company in the EU, and like how do you think the US is different there?
Yeah, I mean the main thing with the US is that it's one common software market, right? Which is not true of the EU. The EU common market is great for like hardware, for selling cars, trucks, things like that. For software, as soon as you go to another country in the EU, you're going international because it's different languages and it's different business regimes, and it's very, even though you do have state laws here, it's a lot harder to go international in Europe. So you have just a much bigger market from the get-go. I think it's a big one. Regulation-wise, I think, as long as you're incorporated as a Delaware company, I don't think it's like a huge problem, but certainly makes hiring more challenging. But in the UK, it's not really a problem. In the UK, it's very good business regime in terms of incorporating and hiring people and stuff like that.
That makes sense. Yeah, I remember talking to like a EU sales ops person and realizing that lead routing needed to take language into account in an enterprise sales context.
Yeah.
And that was like mind-blowing, because in the US, like, for better or worse, everyone speaks English, right? Like, yeah. So, yeah, interesting. Are you hungry?
I've had lunch, but I'm excited to try this.
All right, let's have a snack. We got some highbrow shit here. Trader Joe's calamari in pieces in olive oil.
I hear Trader Joe's has the worst QA of any supermarket in the US. That's what
because they're European.
No, just they have the worst QA.
Interesting. Well, I hope there's no rocks or anything in here. Yeah. And then there's we got some lightly smoked mussels. All right, let's see what
Granddad used to eat.
Really?
Yeah.
And he lived to 100?
Not far off. 96. Not too bad. That does not.
It doesn't look the best.
Come here. Look at this. It's very green. I will say.
Oh, it smells pretty. It's pretty.
Oof.
It's got some oomph on it.
We're gonna need some tissues.
Tissues, yeah. Okay, here we got the calamari. Well, that's also got some.
Oof.
All right, let's see how much of this we finish. We need some. Okay, salt.
I
Okay.
really don't think that's gonna help. It's already gonna be pretty salty. I'll be fine without the cracker.
You don't want the cracker? Okay, so we got a fork or something?
I know, you tell me this is your office.
It is my office. All right.
Evolved into chaos already, right?
Two little forks.
2 little forks, nice. Oh my God.
All right, I'm gonna try this squid first.
All right, let's try a mussel. All right, ready? Cheers.
Actually, let me do the same one.
Okay.
Yeah. Cheers.
There we go. Room temperature. Honestly, it's not bad. It's not too bad.
I would even go good. The texture's a little weird.
It's a bit too mushy. The mussels generally, when you eat them fresh, they'll have a bit of a bite to them. Oh.
I think it'd be good in some pasta.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe better than straight out of the can. But this is the purest form of a mussel in a can.
I'm still chewing it. It's still chewy. I don't understand. I've got a chewy bit.
How'd you get a tree bit? Mine was like,
I know, it's like bristle almost.
I would say it's like
Oh,
fairly
darn.
salty. It's got good seafood taste.
Oh, dear.
I would eat another one of those for sure. I'm going to put one on a cracker. I don't know, Luke, are you going for seconds here?
No, I think I'm okay.
Okay. Luke's
okay.
out. All right. Next up, we got the
It's not as salty as I was expecting.
yeah. No, it's pretty chill. All right, go for it.
Try some calamari. Also not very salty at all.
Okay.
Interesting. You were right about needing the salt. It was a little bit firmer. Better bite to it. It was a very weird taste though.
It's just kind of like what you'd expect, right? Yeah, it's like pretty. It tastes like squid pieces in a can with olive oil. If I like prompted an LLM
Yeah.
with that and then that taste shut up in my mouth, it'd be this.
I wonder how much the mic's picking up the chewing sound.
chewing,
Whether that's like by design or.
The ASMR. I thought people were probably promised the fucking software chit chat, and they're getting like weird cat food consumption video right now. But yeah, that's
it.
that's what we're doing.
I mean, I just have a cat. I would even eat that, to be honest.
It depends on the cat, I suppose. Okay, I think I would buy these again. This is
I prefer the mussels actually.
Yeah.
Just on taste.
yeah. Okay, it's good to know. All right, well that's the first installment of our tins in this context. All right, we actually skipped an important thing. What does architect do?
Architects recreate your best salesperson as a dynamic and interactive experience on the web, i.e. an agentic website. That's the very short of it. I think we're here more to talk about Firetiger though.
Sure. Yeah. All right, so how much do you know about Firetiger? This is a leading question. I know the answer.
I mean, I was one of the first users, I think. I was very, very early. I seem to remember you cold emailing me from GitHub, from Stars or something like that.
I would never do such a thing. Yeah, we've been working together for like a little less than a year. You've seen sort of like every iteration of Firetiger from like, I don't know, what was the first iteration that you saw?
I can't even remember. It was all very, I mean, I remember the original pitch was, you know, what are your like business level metrics? Can you observe those rather than observing technical metrics? When those business metrics go wrong, can you root cause them into the technical stuff? Which made a lot of sense to me. You know, we've all been there as engineers, like alert fatigue and all the noise and whatever, and the late nights of on-call. And so, you know, starting architect and being AI first, I thought it made a lot of sense to try out something that was maybe a little bit more AI forward.
Yep. So that would have been like early 2025.
Yeah.
Agents were like a glimmer in our eyes, but weren't sort of everything.
It was
Everyone.
supposed to be Year of the Agent, but
Yeah, it turns out 2026
this is the Year of the Agent.
Yeah. How do you use Firetiger today? How does it relate to the other tools in your tool stack?
We use Firetiger for the vast majority of operating our production systems. So that means we ingest all sorts of telemetry from our base infrastructure that's on Google Cloud. We ingest all of the application telemetry that our services create and logs and traces and all these things. We ingest things like our Cloudflare CDN logs. And all of that goes into Firetiger, and then we have a bunch of agents at different sort of granularities, keeping watch on all that. We have it connecting to our database and, you know, keeping an eye on query patterns and things like that. And then we have various ways that the Firetiger agent is then able to flow that out of the system. So a lot of the time it's just going into linear, where a human is then going to take a look, or it will go into our incident management tool if it's particularly high severity, and it will wake realistically me up in the middle of the night right now, which is done a few times. And yeah, and then like we have agents that sort of monitor technical. We do have some more technical focused ones, like service RPC is quick and healthy, but we also have much more business focused ones. For us, it's like those end pages, they're fast to load, they load successfully. There's not like large outliers in, you know, not found on certain paths, or there's not slowness in the rendering. That's super, super important for our conversion metrics for our customers, is that the page is load super, super quick. And so all of that is being watched 24/7 by the Firetiger agent, and alerts us and helps us remediate.
Yeah, no, super cool. The agents you described kind of are watching after your customers and taking the perspective of the customer to make sure that your software is delivering on the things that you promised your customers. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And you were saying that you've used traditional observability tools alongside Firetiger, but the agentic approach is sort of like, how is it different? How is it better? How is it worse than a classic?
Yeah, I mean the classic experience that most developers have been through is you are essentially what the Firetiger agent now is, right? Like, I've been up at 5 a.m. to do releases to minimize customer impact. And then I'm going to sit there from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. watching Datadog and watching logs come through, working on systems where there's lots of error logs and lots of known issues that either are being actioned or are just explicitly being ignored. And so you're trying to parse out like, oh, that's a new issue from the release, and then trying to investigate that. Like, there's a lot of issues with operating systems, especially as you're scaling. And Firetiger is great in a lot of ways. Like, it's able to discover new issues and root cause them, and it's able to clone the code base and go and read the code and see what's actually going on, which is super helpful. And a great one, I think one of the most important parts is it's able to keep in its head through the various mechanisms there are, what are known issues, what those known issues sort of like, how they need to be actioned, whether that's like they're just being ignored for now because they're being fixed, or it's kind of a false positive or whatever. And so it really helps to reduce that alert noise and alert fatigue in a way that just wasn't possible before. Like, I've had to do that I've had to be that person who knew what all the known issues in the system were and fix all of that manually.
Right. There's like this interesting thing around, like, you configure a set of alerts and then they fire, and then you're like, oh shit, that one keeps firing, but I'm already working on it. And then you suppress it, and then you're managing suppressions and alerts, and you're like, that whole dance goes away when you're working with a teammate like Firetiger that's sort of taking instructions from you, as opposed to like just pure rule-based.
When Firetiger tells me something, I take it seriously because it's clearly something new, or it's something that I do need to action now. I'm much more confident to put people in the flow of like being woken up by those Firetiger alerts than I would with maybe the more traditional alerts.
Yeah, makes sense. Can you show us what your Firetiger instance actually looks like?
I can. How do we want to do that?
Just pull it up, and you maybe you want to come around and
these now. It's lunchtime over.
Lunchtime's over, yeah.
So here is our Firetiger instance. So to go to ingest, you see we've had 10.5 million telemetry events from Cloudflare on our open telemetry stack today. And then we have various agents that are monitoring certain parts of our system. So we can kind of cut these by horizontal or vertical. They're primarily cut by horizontal right now, but we're working on bringing in more sort of vertical and like area focused agents. But we have Postgres, both schemas and indexes, and reliability and performance. These come from the built-in catalog. So these are ones that you can get right out of the box. Temporal one is also one we have active, which is super, super helpful, monitoring temporal cloud and the temporal worker health and things like that. We use pgcat for our connection pooling across all our services, and it was able to just out of the box from the Ducks figure out how to build an alerting system for that. And the two main ones that we care about are RPC health. So this monitors all of our services across the board and how they communicate with each other. And oftentimes issues are found by this one. That any sort of issue in our system ends up resulting in errored or slow RPC calls between services. And so it's amazing how with such a simple agent that's just looking across all of the RPC telemetry, how many issues it's able to find. So I think there's a couple things where we have a materialized view that's like very slow, and so it's picking that up, and we want to have a look at that. But that's something that's being worked on. So I'll get to the known issues in a minute. And the most important one for us is we have it looking at our page gateway, and it's serving pages and various like performance things. We've set the thresholds quite tight because we want to be very ambitious with the performance of this. Now, there's still a little bit of work we're still doing on improving that performance, but it's keeping a nice eye on that for us. So if I go down into known issues, there's a bunch of known issues, some of which are being worked on, waiting to be released to prod. I think some of these probably need to be marked as resolved now, but particularly we have a bunch of muted ones where I know that those are an issue and was just not a problem for us. We don't use any of the deployment monitoring yet. I need to get that set up again. I will get that set up soon. And what's really cool about Firetiger is I'm able to go into the knowledge base and just see all of the things, all of the different services that it's picked up automatically from just passively observing our telemetry and all the different flows and things that are coming from there.
Cool. Do you use Firetiger mostly sort of like how much time are you spending in the UI versus how much of it is just background agents picking up work and then sort of putting it on your plate in some form that then gets picked up?
I mean, the initial setup is always like, in the UI, if I'm thinking there's a new service I'm building and I want to monitor that and I want to be very specific about monitoring that, then I'm going to come into the UI and build a new agent. But I'd say a lot of the time I spend with Firetiger, I spend in my coding agent, my CLI coding agent, and using the MCP server to explore known issues and communicate with the issue experts, and then go back and forth on that. And then when I have that in my context, I can then just go and fix that problem immediately.
Yep. You've mentioned wanting to wire this directly to coding agents.
Yes.
What does that look like?
we have it sort of wired up, but with human in the loop on both sides, where we have it creating linear issues, and then I go and delegate those to our background coding agent. We use a tool called Tembo for that, and that's been working really nicely for us. One thing I'm excited to try is having Firetiger auto-delegate to Tembo when it opens the issue. So any new known issue in Firetiger automatically flows into an open PR that I can then review. I think we're a ways off closing the loop as than that, having those PRs
Totally, fire and forget.
A little bit far off.
When you say a ways off, you mean like 6 months, right?
Yeah, well, it's more of an organizational thing for us than it is a Firetiger or Tembo issue or a model issue. Like, we just need to have enough validation of our system in our pipeline so that we know before we do a release, if the pipeline is green, that it's good. And it's quite hard when you're at a stage startup, as everybody has sort of seen before. Like, the product's moving so quick that keeping that validation up to date is quite hard. But as we become more operationally mature and the code base becomes more mature and the features become more mature, then I'm hoping to get to that point like the big tech companies now do, where you can just sort of automatically change.
But how much would you say that you've cut sort of mean time to resolution and detection and resolution on these like subtle long tail issues, sort of comparing pre-Firetiger sort of classic observability world to this more agentic?
Yeah, it's really hard to say for the size we're at. Like, we don't have a huge number of those issues, but what I would say is there's been a good few issues. Now I can't remember exactly what they were, but there has been a couple of issues where I don't think we would have found them at all if it wasn't for Firetiger. Like, it's taking a holistic view, and it's not just thinking through like the existing alerts. It's often very explorative, so it will be thinking like, okay, this RPC is slow, and then I'm going to go find why.
Root around.
It finds things that I just wouldn't have been looking for at all if I was doing it myself.
But those are the ones that are actually causing paper cuts that piss your
for sure.
Yeah, interesting. Moving off of Firetiger for a second, what do you think? So we've known each other for basically 6 months, and in that time, the entire software development lifecycle looks quite different. What does it look like in 6 months?
I think there's a few. I mean, everything really about the SDLC needs to change. I think what that looks like from a tooling perspective is, the CI/CD flow is broken. I think the traditional stack of like GitHub and PRs and GitHub Actions and whatever is just too slow and not tooled for the velocity. I think it looks something more like, if you can split your system up into smaller sort of islands with smaller blast radius, then a much more continuous loop with the agent deploying, almost autonomously, I think, and the agent also doing a lot more like validation. I think we need tools across CI, actual deployment, the ability for the agents to validate their changes themselves, and then things like Firetiger to monitor all the telemetry. I think software development becomes a lot more continuous. You can imagine the agent, making a small change, deploying it, then making the next change, deploying it, making the next change, deploying it, and you're more focused on managing the trajectories of the agents in each feature area rather than micromanaging.
Here's the start and end of this development cycle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like the place we're going to get to is the core flow of, change needs to be made, code is generated, which is now actually only a small part of this, through to being deployed, through to being validated, through to, you know, having some more information to make the next change, I think humans are going to come out of that loop entirely.
Yeah.
Because like, you know, I have like 55 open PRs. There's like 6 of us and we have like 55 open PRs today. Like there's just no way to keep the human in the loop of all that work that's going on.
Next forward-looking question and last question: what fish or tin of seafood should we pick up?
You know, my favorite fish in a tin is definitely anchovies.
Okay.
I love anchovies on pizza. I can just eat them, to be honest. Nice anchovies. Nice.
Are we talking like the salt-packed, like sort of Italian-style ones, or the like lighter boccherones?
See, this guy clearly knows more about anchovies than I do. I don't know. I think the latter.
Do you like the really sour ones or the really salty ones?
The really salty ones.
Okay.
The really
All right.
salty
We'll get you some anchovies next time.
All right. Sounds
All right.
good.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.